Madhya Palachaya Shodohe Amai Tomara Charana Dori
Madhya Palachaya Shodohe Amaya Tomara Charana Dori
Chaya Vega Dumi Chaya Dosha Shodi Chaya Guna Devo Dase
Chaya Vega Dumi Chaya Dosha Shodi Chaya Guna Devo Dase
Chaya Satsanga Deho He Amare Bosha Shri Sangura Ashe
Chaya Satsanga Deho He Amare Bosha Sangera Ashe
Ekaki Amar Nahi Pai Bolo Harinama Sankirtane
Ekaki Amara Nahi Paya Bala Harinama Sankirtane
Tumi Kripa Kore Shadabindu Diya Deho Krishna Namadane
Tumi Kripa Kore Shraddha Bindu Diya Deho Krishna Namadhane
Tumi Kripa Kore Shadabindu Diya Deho Krishna Namadane
Tumi Kripa Kore Shraddha Bindu Diya Deho Krishna Namadhane
Krishna se Tomar Krishna dite paro Tomara Shakti Ache
Krishna se Tomara Krishna dice paro Tomara Shakti Ache
Amito Kanga Krishna Krishna Bole Dai Dava Pache Pache
Amito Ganga Krishna Krishna Boli Haitava Pache Pache
Oh hey Vaishnava Thakur Goyara Sagara Idase Koruna Kori
Ohe Vaishnava Thakura Loyara Sagara Edase Karuna Kori
Oh hey Vaishnava Thakur Goyara Sagara Idase Koruna Kori
Ohe Vaishnava Thakura Loyara Sagara Edase Karuna Kori
Jaya Vaishnava Thakur Vaishnava Thakur Vaishnava Thakur Jaya Vaishnava Thakur
Jaya Vaishnava Thakur, Vaishnava Thakur, Vaishnava Thakur, Jaya Vaishnava.
Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada
Jaya Prabhupada,
continue our reading of the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita in the matter of the Madhya Lila, the middle pastimes of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we're taking up where we left off yesterday because the sun went down and everyone fell asleep. But we got back up again, and we're ready to resume our hearing. So we heard the most excellent class this morning from Mahendra Prabhu. And who wouldn't want to dedicate every waking second, and even sleeping, from now on to hearing, after hearing that class. Thank you very much, Prabhu, for being who you are, a stalwart, and giving such beautiful classes. Hare Krishna. And thanks to everyone who's joined us in the Antar or the Paya Lok. And what is this day? This is 7th day?
7th, yes.
This is day number 7. So we're going to have to really lean in.
Yes.
We may even have to have some morning sessions. We're going to have our brightest minds count up the pages and look at the days, minus one day I have to go to Vrindavan in the morning to give class and attend the ICC. That one we're going to miss. That morning we'll get the afternoon. And one morning there's a yajna, as some people say. And so we'll take away those 2 mornings. We'll figure it out, okay? How many pages left, how many days we have to go, average number of pages we're doing per day, and we may have to substitute some morning sessions. It's about to get real.
Ja.
Only one person said Jai. Everyone outside is going, what are you talking about? Okay. Taking up with folded hands and bowed heads at the Madhya Lila, chapter 8, text number 139. Everyone ready?
Yes.
Outside, you all ready? Hari Hari. The very name Krishna means that he attracts even Cupid. He is therefore attracted to everyone, male and female, moving and inert living entities. Indeed, Krishna is known as the all-attractive one. Purport: just as there are many orbs in the material world called stars or planets, in the spiritual world there are many spiritual planets called Vaikuntha Lokas. The spiritual universe, however, is situated far, far away from the cluster of material universes. Material scientists cannot even estimate the number of planets and stars within this universe. They are also incapable of traveling to other stars by spaceship. According to the Bhagavad Gita 8:20, there is also a spiritual world. Parastasmatu bhavonyo yakto vrita sanatanaha yatsak sarveshu bhuteshu nashatsu navinashiti. Yet there is another unmanifested nature, which is eternal and is transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested matter. It is supreme and is never annihilated. When all in this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is. Thus, there is another nature which is superior to material nature. The word bhava or svabhava refers to nature. The spiritual nature is eternal, and even when all the material universes are destroyed, the planets in the spiritual world abide. They remain exactly as the spirit soul remains even after the annihilation of the material body. That spiritual world is called the aprakrita, anti-material world. In this transcendental spiritual world or universe, the highest planetary system is known as Goloka Vrindavan. That is the abode of Lord Krishna himself, who is also all spiritual. Krishna is known there as the Aprakrita Madan. The name Madan refers to Cupid, but Krishna is the spiritual Madan. His body is not material like the body of Cupid in this material universe. Krishna's body is all spiritual, Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha. Therefore he is called Aprakrita Madan. He is also known as Manmat Madan, which means that he is attracted even to Cupid. Sometimes Krishna's activities and attractive features are misinterpreted by gross materialists to accuse him of being immoral because he danced with the gopis. But such an accusation results from not knowing that Krishna is beyond this material world. His body is Satchidananda Vigraha, completely spiritual. There is no material contamination in his body, and one should not consider his body a lump of flesh and bones. The Mayavadi philosophers conceive of Krishna's body as material, and this is an abominable, grossly materialistic conception. Just as Krishna is completely spiritual, the gopis are also spiritual. And this is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita 537. Ananda chinmaya rasa pratibhavitavis tavyega eva nijarupataya kalavi goloka eva nivasatya kilatma bhuto govindamadi purusham brahmachari. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord. He resides in his own realm, Goloka, with Radha, who resembles his own spiritual figure, and who embodies the ecstatic potency, Hladini. Their companions are her confidants, who embody extensions of her bodily form, and who are imbued and permeated with ever blissful spiritual rasa. The gopis are also of the same spiritual quality, Nija Rupataya, because they are expansions of Krishna's pleasure potency. Neither Krishna nor the gopis have anything to do with lumps of matter or the material conception. In the material world, the living entity is encaged within a material body, and due to ignorance, he thinks that he is the body. Therefore, here, the enjoyment of lusty desires between male and female is all material. One cannot compare the lusty desires of a materialistic man to the transcendental lusty desires of Krishna. Unless one is advanced in spiritual science, he cannot understand the lusty desires between Krishna and the gopis. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the lusty desires of the gopis is compared to gold. The lusty desires of a materialistic man, on the other hand, are compared to iron. At no stage can iron and gold be equated. The living entities, moving and non-moving, are part and parcel of Krishna. Therefore, they originally have the same kind of lusty desires as his. But when this lusty desire is expressed through matter, it is abominable. When a living entity is spiritually advanced and liberated from material bondage, he can understand Krishna in truth. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Janma karma chale divyam evam yogeti tatvata tekva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sarjuna. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. When one can understand the body of Krishna as well as the Lord's lusty desires, one is immediately liberated. A conditioned soul engaged within the material body cannot understand Krishna. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 7.3, Manushanam sahasreshu kashid yatati siddhaye yatatamapi siddhanam kashchinma eti tattataha. Out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection, and of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. The word siddhaye indicates liberation. Only after being liberated from material conditioning can one understand Krishna. When one can understand Krishna, he is tathata. One actually lives in the spiritual world, although apparently living within the material body. This technical science can be understood when one is actually spiritually advanced. In his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 12187, Srila Rupa Goswami says, Iha yasya harer dasye ramana manasa gira nikhilash yasya bastastu jivan muktasya uchyate. When a person is in this material world, desires only to serve Krishna with love and devotion, he is liberated, even though functioning within this material world. As the Bhagavad Gita 14:26 confirms, Nam cha yogya vicharena bhakti yogena sevate
Sarvanam Samatityayata Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate.
One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. Simply by engaging in the loving service of the Lord, one can attain liberation. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 1854, Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma Ashrochatina Kanshiti. A person who is highly advanced in spiritual knowledge and who has attained the Brahma Bhuta stage neither laments nor hankers for anything material. That is the stage of spiritual realization. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur considers the Brahma Bhuta stage in two divisions, Swarup Gata and Vastu Gata. One who has understood Krishna in truth, but is still maintaining some material connection is known to be situated in his Swarup, his original. One who has understood Krishna in truth, but is still maintaining some material connection, is known to be situated in his Swarup, his original consciousness. When that original consciousness is completely spiritual, it is called Krishna consciousness. One who lives in such consciousness is actually living in Vrindavan. He may live anywhere, material location doesn't matter. When, by the grace of Krishna, one thus advances, he becomes completely uncontaminated by the material body and mind, and at that time factually lives in Vrindavan. That stage is called Vastugata. One should execute his spiritual activities in the Swarupgata stage of consciousness. He should also chant the Chinmayi Gayatri, the spiritual mantras Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Kim Krishnaya Govardhana, and Kim Krishnaya, Kim Kamadevaya, etc., etc. These are all Kama Gayatri or Kama Bij mantras. One should be initiated by a bona fide spiritual master and worship Krishna with these transcendental mantras. As explained by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in the previous verse and the current verse, Vrindavane Apakrita Navina Manda Kama Gayatri Kama Vijay Yar Upasana Purusha Yoshit Kipa Stavara Jangama Sarva Chitta Karshaka Saksha Manmat Madan. A person who is properly purified and initiated by the spiritual master worships the Supreme Personality God Krishna by chanting this mantra, the Kama Gayatri, with the Kama Bija. As the Bhagavad Gita 1865 confirms, one should engage in transcendental worship in order to be fit for being attracted by Krishna, the all-attractive. Manmana Bhavama Bhakto Vajajimam Namastu Mani Vaishasi Sakyante Patijane Priyosine. Always think of me and become my devotee. Worship me and offer your homage unto me. Thus you'll come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. Since every living entity is part and parcel of Krishna, Krishna is naturally attractive. Due to the material covering, one's attraction for Krishna is checked. One is not usually attracted by Krishna in the material world, but as soon as one is liberated from material conditioning, he is naturally attracted. Therefore, it is said in this verse, Sarva Chitta Karshaka. Everyone is naturally attracted to Krishna. This attraction is within everyone's heart, and when the heart is cleansed, that attraction is manifested. Cheto Darpana Marjanam Pava Mahadavagni Nivapana. Text 140. When Krishna left the Rasa Leela dance, the gopis became very morose. And when they were grieving, Krishna reappeared dressed in yellow garments, wearing a flower garland and smiling. He was attractive even to Cupid. In this way, Krishna appeared among the gopis. This verse is from Srimad Bhagavatam 10:32-2. 141. Each and every devotee has a certain type of transcendental mellow in relation to Krishna. But in all transcendental relationships, the devotee is the worshipper, ashraya, and Krishna is the object of worship, vishaya. Akila Rasamrita Murti, Prashmin Rara Ruchi Ruda Tarakapali, Kalita Shama Lalito Radha Prayam Vidura Jayati. Let Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, be glorified. By virtue of his expanding attractive features, he subjugated the gopis named Taraka and Pali, and absorbed the minds of Shama and Lalita. He is the most attractive lover of Srimati Radharani, and is a reservoir of pleasure for devotees in all transcendental mellows. Purport: everyone has a particular transcendental mellow by which he loves and serves Krishna. Krishna is the most attractive feature for every kind of devotee. He is therefore called Akila Rasamrita Murti, the transcendental form of attraction for all kinds of devotees. Whether the devotee be in the Shanta Ras, Dasya Ras, Sakhya Ras, Vatsalya Ras, or Madhurya Ras. This is the opening verse of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Srila Rupa Goswami. 143. Krishna is all attractive for devotees in all mellows because he is the personification of the conjugal mellow. Krishna is attractive not only for the devotees, but to himself as well. Vishveshvam anuranjanena janayam anandam indivara Shreni shamalakomalet upanaya ange anangotsava Swachandam Brajasundari Virabhita Pratangamalinghita Shringara Sakhi Murti Manilamadao Muddo Hari Kritati. Better at it. Put it on the list. My dear friends, just see how Sri Krishna is enjoying the season of spring with the gopis embracing each of his limbs. He is like amorous love personified. With his transcendental pastimes, he enlivens all the gopis of the entire creation. With his soft bluish black arms and legs, which resemble blue lotus flowers, he has created a festival for Cupid. It is a verse from Gita Govinda 1.11. He also attracts Narayan, who is the incarnation of Sankarsana and the husband of the goddess of fortune. He attracts not only Narayan, but also all women headed by the goddess of fortune, the consort of Narayan. Addressing Krishna and Arjuna, Lord Mahavishnu, the Mahapurusha, said, I wanted to see both of you, and therefore I have brought the sons of the Brahmana here. Both of you have appeared in the material world to re-establish religious principles, and you have both appeared here with all your potencies. After killing all the demons, please quickly return to the spiritual world. Purport: this is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam 10:89-58 concerning Krishna's endeavor to take Arjuna beyond the material universe when Arjuna was searching for the sons of a Brahmana. Lord Mahavishnu, who is situated beyond this material world, was also attracted by the bodily features of Krishna. Mahavishnu had actually stolen the son of the Brahmana in Dwarka so that Krishna and Arjuna would come visit him. This verse is quoted to show that Krishna is so attractive that he attracts Mahavishnu. O Lord, we do not know how the serpent Kaliya attained such an opportunity to be touched by the dust of your lotus feet. For this end, the goddess of fortune performed austerities for centuries, giving up all other desires and observing austere vows. Indeed, we do not know how this serpent Kaliya got such an opportunity. That's from the Srimad Bhagavatam 10:16-36, and it was spoken by?
Kaliya.
Good. Lord Krishna's sweetness is so attractive that it steals away his own mind. Thus, even he wants to embrace himself. Upon seeing his own reflection in a bejeweled pillar of his Dwarka palace, Krishna desired to embrace it, saying, "Alas, I have never seen such a person before. Who is he?" Just by seeing him, I have become eager to embrace him, exactly like Srimati Radharani. This verse from Srila Rupa Goswami's Lalita Madhya. What's the tune? Okay. Amrita Sagar got it. He's very musically inclined. Okay, go.
Aparikalita purva kascha matkarakari spurati.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now let me describe the position of Srimati Radharani. Krishna has unlimited potencies which can be divided into three main parts. These are the spiritual potency, the material potency, and the marginal potency, which is known as the living entities. In other words, these are all potencies of God, internal, external, and marginal. But the internal potency is the Lord's personal energy and stands over the other two. The original potency of Lord Vishnu is superior or spiritual, and the living entity actually belongs to that superior energy. But there's another energy called the material energy, and this third energy is full of ignorance. That's Vishnu Purana. Originally, Lord Krishna is Sakchit Ananda Vigraha, the transcendental form of eternity, bliss, and knowledge. Therefore, his personal potency, the internal potency, has three different forms. Hladini is his aspect of bliss, Sandhini of eternal existence, and Samvit of cognizance, which is also accepted as knowledge. Hladini Sandhini Samvit Tvayeka Sarva Samshaye Hlada Tapa Kari Mishra Tvai no Guna Varjite. My dear Lord, you are the transcendental reservoir of all transcendental qualities. Your pleasure potency, existence potency, and knowledge potency are actually all one internal spiritual potency. The conditioned soul, although actually spiritual, sometimes experiences pleasure, sometimes pain, and sometimes a mixture of pleasure and pain. This is due to his being touched by matter. But because you are above all material qualities, these are not found in you. Your superior spiritual potency is completely transcendental, and for you there is no such thing as relative pleasure, pleasure mixed with pain, or pain itself. That's from the Vishnu Purana. Text 157. The potency called Hladini gives Krishna transcendental pleasure. Through this pleasure potency, Krishna personally tastes all spiritual pleasure. Lord Krishna tastes all kinds of transcendental happiness, although he himself is happiness personified. The pleasure relished by his pure devotees is also manifested by his pleasure potency. The most essential part of this pleasure potency is the love of Godhead, prema. Consequently, the explanation of love of Godhead is also a transcendental melody, full of pleasure. The essential part of love of Godhead is called Mahabhava, transcendental ecstasy, and that ecstasy is represented by Srimati Radharani. Among the gopis of Vrindavan, Srimati Radharani and another gopi are considered chief. But when we compare the gopis, it appears that Srimati Radharani is most important because her real feature expresses the highest ecstasy of love. The ecstasy of love experienced by the other gopis cannot be compared to that of Srimati Radharani. That's a quote from Ujjvala Nilamani. The body of Srimati Radharani is a veritable transformation of love of Godhead. She is the dearmost friend of Krishna, and this is known throughout the world. I worship Govardhana, the primeval Lord, who resides in his own realm, Goloka, with Radha, who resembles his own spiritual figure, and who embodies the ecstatic potency, Hladini. Their companions are her confidants, who embody extensions of her bodily form, and who are imbued and permeated with ever blissful spiritual rasa. This is a quotation from Brahma Samhita 537. That supreme ecstasy of Srimati Radharani is the essence of spiritual life. Her only business is to fulfill all the desires of Krishna. Srimati Radharani is the topmost spiritual gem, and the other gopis, Lalita, Vishaka, and so on, are expansions of her spiritual body. Srimati Radharani's transcendental body is brilliant in luster and full of transcendental fragrances. Lord Krishna's affection for her is like a perfumed massage. Purport. Sugandhi Udvartana refers to a paste made of several perfumes and fragrant oils. This paste is massaged all over the body, and in this way, the body's dirt and perspiration are removed. Srimati Radharani's body is automatically perfumed, but when her body is massaged with the scented paste of Lord Krishna's affection, her entire body is doubly perfumed and made brilliant and lustrous. This is the beginning of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's description of Srimati Radharani's transcendental body. This description, found in verses 165 to 181, is based on a book by Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, known as Premam Bhoja Maranda. Premam Bhoja Maranda. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's translation of the original Sanskrit reads as follows. The love of the gopis for Krishna is full of transcendental ecstasy. It appears to be a brilliant jewel, and enlightened by such a transcendental jewel, Radharani's body is further perfumed and decorated with kumkum. In the morning, her body is bathed in the nectar of passion, in the afternoon, in the nectar of youth, and in the evening, in the nectar of luster itself. In this way, the bathing is performed, and her body becomes as brilliant as the Chintamani jewel. She is dressed in various kinds of silken garments, one of which is her natural shyness. Her beauty is more and more enhanced, being decorated with the red kumkum of beauty itself and the blackish musk of conjugal love. Thus her body is decorated with different colors. Her ornaments embody the natural symptoms of ecstasy: trembling, tears, jubilation, stunning perspiration, faltering of the voice, bodily redness, madness, and dullness. In this way, her entire body is bedecked with these 9 different jewels. Over and above this, the beauty of her body is enhanced by her transcendental qualities, which constitute the flower garland hanging on her body. The ecstasy of love for Krishna is known as dhira and adhira, sober and restless. Such ecstasy constitutes the covering of Srimati Radharani's body, and it is adorned by camphor. Her transcendental anger toward Krishna is embodied as the arrangement of the hair on her head, and the tilak of her great fortune shines on her beautiful forehead. Srimati Radharani's earrings are the holy names of Krishna, as well as the hearing of his name and fame. Her lips are always reddish due to the betel nut of ecstatic affection for Krishna. The black ointment around her eyes is her tricky behavior with Krishna, brought about by love. Her joking with Krishna and gentle smiling constitute the camphor with which she is perfumed. She sleeps in her room with the aroma of pride, And when she lies down in her bed, the transcendental variety of her loving ecstasies is like a jeweled locket in the midst of her necklace of separation. Her transcendental breasts are covered by her sari in the form of affection and anger toward Krishna. She has a stringed instrument known as Kachapi Veena, which is the fame and fortune that actually dries up the faces and breasts of the other gopis. She always keeps her hands on the shoulder of her gopi friend, who represents her youthful beauty. And although she is highly qualified with so many spiritual assets, she is nonetheless affected by the Cupid known as Krishna. Thus she is defeated. Srila Raghunath Das Goswami offers his respectful obeisances to Srimati Radharani, taking a straw in his mouth. Indeed, he prays, O Gandharvika Srimati Radharani, just as Lord Krishna never rejects a surrendered soul, please don't reject me. This is a summary translation of the Premam Bhoja Maranda, which Kaviraj Goswami quotes. (167) Srimati Radharani takes her first bath in the shower of nectar of compassion, of the nectar of compassion, and she takes her second bath in the nectar of youth. Purport: Srimati Radharani first smears her body with the paste of affection for Krishna. She then takes her bath in the water of mercy. After passing the Pauganda age from 5 to 10 years, Srimati Radharani first appears as mercy. The second birth is taken at noon, in the water of Tarunyamrita, or the nectar of youth. This is the actual expression of her new youthfulness. 168. After her midday bath, Radharani takes another bath in the nectar of bodily luster, and she puts on the garments of shyness, which is her black silk sari. Purport: over and above the other baths, the bath taken in the afternoon is taken in the nectar of full beauty. This nectar represents the personal qualities of beauty and luster. Thus, there are 3 baths in different kinds of water. Radharani then puts on 2 garments, a lower and an upper garment. The upper garment is pinkish and is her affection and attraction for Krishna, and the lower garment, a blackish silk sari, is her shyness. Srimati Radharani's affection for Krishna is her upper garment, which is pinkish in color. She then covers her breasts with another garment composed of affection and anger toward Krishna. Srimati Radharani's personal beauty is the reddish powder known as kumkum. Her affection for her associates is sandalwood pulp, and the sweetness of her smile is camphor. All these combined together are smeared over her body. Conjugal love for Krishna is an abundance of musk, and with that musk her whole body is decorated. Craftiness and covered anger constitute the arrangement of her hair. The quality of anger due to jealousy is the silk garment covering her body. Her attachment for Krishna is the reddish color of betel nuts on her brilliant lips. Her double dealings in loving affairs constitute the black ointment around her eyes. The ornaments decorating her body are the blazing ecstasies of goodness and the constantly existing ecstasies headed by jubilation. All these ecstasies are the ornaments all over her body. Also, ornamenting her body are the 20 kinds of ecstatic symptoms, beginning with Kila Kinchita. Her transcendental qualities constitute the flower garland hanging in fullness over her body. Purport: the 20 different moods headed by Kila Kinchita are described as follows. First, in connection with the body, there are bhava, ecstasy, hava, gestures, and hela, negligence. In relation with the self, there is shobha, beauty, kanti, luster, Deepti, brilliance, madhurya, sweetness, pragalabhata, impudence, audarya, magnanimity, and dharya, patience. And in relation to nature, there are lila, pastimes, vilas, enjoyment, vichitti, breaking off, and vibrama, puzzlement. There are no English equivalents for the words kila kinchata, motayita, and kutamita. Srimati Radharani's flower garland consists of her qualities, and it's divided into mental, verbal, and bodily parts. Her attitude of forgiveness and mercy is all mental. Her talks, which are very pleasing to the ear, are verbal. The bodily qualities are age, beauty, luster, and grace. The tilak of good fortune is on her forehead, on her beautiful broad forehead. Her various loving affairs are a gem, and her heart is the locket. Srimati Radharani's gopi friends are her mental activities, which are concentrated on the pastimes of Sri Krishna. She keeps her hand on the shoulder of a friend who represents youth. Purport: Radharani's 8 companions, Ashtasaki, are different varieties of pleasure connected with the pastimes of Krishna. Following those pastimes of Sri Krishna are other activities, which are represented by the assistance of the gopis. Srimati Radharani's bedstead is pride itself, and it is situated in the abode of her bodily aroma. She is always seated there thinking of Krishna's association. Srimati Radharani's earrings are the name, fame, and qualities of Lord Krishna. The glories of Lord Krishna's name, fame, and qualities are always inundating her speech. Srimati Radharani induces Krishna to drink the honey of the conjugal relationship. She is therefore engaged in satisfying all the lusty desires of Krishna. Srimati Radharani is the mind filled with valuable jewels of love for Krishna. Her transcendental body is complete with unparalleled spiritual qualities. Next is from Sri Govinda Lilamrita. If one asks about the origin of love of Krishna, the answer is that the origin is in Srimati Radharani alone. Who is the most dear friend of Krishna? The answer again is Srimati Radharani alone. No one else. Srimati Radharani's hair is very curly. Her 2 eyes are always moving to and fro, and her breasts are firm. Since all transcendental qualities are manifested in Srimati Radharani, she alone is able to fulfill all the desires of Krishna, no one else. Purport: this is a quotation from Sri Govinda Lilamrita by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. It is a verse in the form of questions and answers describing the glories of Srimati Radharani. Even Satyabhama, one of the queens of Sri Krishna, desires the fortunate position and exalted qualities of Srimati Radharani. All the gopis learn the art of dressing from Srimati Radharani, and even the goddess of fortune Lakshmi and the wife of Lord Shiva, Parvati, desire her beauty and qualities. Indeed, Arundhati, the celebrated chaste wife of Vasishtha, also wants to imitate the chastity and religious principles of Srimati Radharani. Even Lord Krishna himself cannot reach the limit of the transcendental qualities of Srimati Radharani. How then can an insignificant living entity count them? Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, "Now I have come to understand the truth of the loving affairs between Radha and Krishna. Nonetheless, I still want to hear how both of them gloriously enjoy such love." And there we'll take a few reflections or questions. Yes, Mukaravind.
Maharaj, in one of the verse, the lust is described, and then Prabhupada purport, in the purport he says that, but like the living entity moving or non-being or part and parcel of Krishna, therefore they originally have the same kind of lusty desire as his, means Krishna. But when this lusty desire is expressed through matter, it is abominable. when the living entity is spiritually advanced and liberated from material bondage, he can understand Krishna in truth. So basically, that lusty desire is there in the living entity as well. It's just he's just expressing in a wrong way. So it's because sometimes some thoughts comes of lusty desire. It's not that it is something unnatural. It is there, but it's just we are expressing through the wrong way. That's what the
Well, it is unnatural, but the Adi Ras is the original impulse to love. We also call lusty desire in the spiritual world. When Mahavishnu glances at the material world, Ramamanasya Naviyogaschaya Saha, then there's a apparatus created when there's the neutral form of the material nature mixed with the glance of Mahavishnu and karma and three modes of material nature, then it starts to take form, and it's affected by the three modes in different ways. And the original desire, called the Adiras, loving affairs of Krishna in the spiritual world, takes shape in the material world in a perverted way. So the living entity's interaction with the material modes of nature, or he's affected by them, causes him to desire matter. And what gives the highest pleasure in the spiritual world then gets translated in the material world as misery. Hlada tapatraya. What's most pleasurable in the spiritual world becomes the source of misery in the material world. Hlada tapatraya. And so Krishna consciousness means to remove the covering of ignorance and reunite with the internal potency of Krishna, which is devotional service. And when one's realigned with the desire to serve Krishna, one enjoys unlimitedly in that internal potency of the Lord. So it's a perverted reflection of what's real in the spiritual world becomes a source of great misery in the material world. Okay, other questions or reflections? Yes? Vamshuli. What happened to Vamshuli? They won't let him speak?
Tell Vamshili Prabhu to come here and speak in this.
We're waiting for Vamshuli. He's just getting an upgraded mic, one that works.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much for taking us through this reading. Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Thank you for taking us through this reading. I like the point that Srimati Radharani's earrings are the name and fame of Krishna. So they're right next to the ears and she'll keep hearing them all the time. He said something.
I don't know. These are, I'm just reading them. I have no comment on those points. They're beautiful and poetical, but I have no comment. Any other reflections? Yes.
I was appreciating how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again here is so humble that he's not presenting it himself, but he's acting like he doesn't know, and he's glorifying Ramananda Roy by allowing him to present the entire philosophy step by step in such a beautiful way.
Yeah.
It just shows how humble, and it's so fun and enlivening too, the way that he's presenting this to us. And also glorifying Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and he's glorifying all his devotees.
Yeah, sometimes when he's doing that, the author describes how it's like he has many mouths, because he's glorifying them as fast as he can in different directions. Any last points? Yes, we have a few from outside.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I've always wondered, so on text 176 it says, the tilak of good fortune is on her beautiful broad forehead. When we look at the deities that we have in our temples, Radharani never has a tilak on. I was wondering if you would know why the reason for that is.
No, I don't. Anything else?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
In Govinda Lilamrita and Ujjvala Nilamani, you can read about the description of Srimati Radharani's tilak. It's called the Kama Yantra, and it contains of a dot of sandalwood paste and a dot of musk, and encircling with the red kumkum of lotus petals.
Haribo.
Hare Krishna. I was reflecting on the verse 8.141, where it says, each and every devotee has a certain type of transcendental mellow in relation to Krishna. And I was just reflecting also because in relation to today's class and yesterday's discussion on one doesn't need to rush into knowing what their nature is. And as you said, if someone tries to take someone else's service, then we're taking away service from Krishna. So we just, Mahindra Prabhu, this morning's class, you were saying we should just try to please Krishna and his devotees, and then everything will happen organically and naturally, because everyone has a unique relationship with Krishna.
Thank you very much for that reflection. And I'm going to continue now. It's taking up at 187. Ramananda Roy replied, Lord Krishna is Dhira Lalita, for he can always keep his girlfriends in a subjugated state. Thus his only business is enjoying sense gratification. Purport, we should always remember that Krishna's sense gratification is never to be compared to the sense gratification of the material world. As we have already explained, Krishna's sense gratification is just like gold. The perverted reflection of that sense gratification is found in the material world and is just like iron. The purport is that Krishna is not impersonal. He has all the desires that are manifest in the perverted reflections within this material world. However, the qualities are different. One is spiritual and the other material. Just as there is a difference between life and death, there is a difference between spiritual sense gratification and material sense gratification. A person who is very cunning and always youthful, expert in joking and without anxiety, and who can keep his girlfriends always subjugated, is called Dhira Lalita. That's from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Day and night, Lord Sri Krishna enjoys the company of Srimati Radharani in the bushes of Vrindavan. Thus, his pre-youthful age is fulfilled through his affairs with Srimati Radharani. Thus, Lord Sri Krishna spoke of the sexual activities of the previous night. In this way, he made Srimati Radharani close her eyes out of shyness. Taking this opportunity, Sri Krishna painted various types of dolphins on her breasts. Thus, he became a very expert artist for all the gopis. During such pastimes, the Lord enjoyed the fulfillment of his youth. This is from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "This is all right, but please continue." At that time, Ramananda Roy replied, "I don't think my intelligence goes beyond this." Ramananda Roy then informed Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that there was another topic known as Prema Vilas Vivarta. "You may hear of this from me," Ramananda Roy said, "but I do not know whether you will be happy with it or not." Purport. These statements are set forth for our understanding, according to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Amrita Prabha Bhashya. In essence, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Ramananda Roy, "My dear Ramananda, the explanation you have given about the goal of life and the pastimes of Srimati Radharani and Krishna is certainly the truth. Although this is factual, you can continue telling me more if there is anything more to say." In reply, Ramananda Roy said, "I do not think I have anything to say beyond this, but there is a topic known as Prema Vilas Vivarta, which I may explain to you. I do not know whether it will bring you happiness or not." Saying this, Ramananda Roy began to sing a song he had composed, but Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, out of the ecstasy of love of Godhead, immediately covered Ramananda's mouth with his own hand. Purport. The topics that are about to be discussed between Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Roy cannot be understood by a materialistic poet, nor by intelligence or material perception. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur states that the spiritual mellow can be realized only when one is situated on the transcendental platform beyond the material stage of goodness. That platform is called Vishuddha Sattva, Sattvam Vishuddham Vasudeva Shabditam. Realization of the Vishuddha Sattva platform is beyond the pale of the material world and is not perceived by bodily senses or mental speculation. Our identification with the gross body and subtle mind is different from spiritual understanding. Since the intelligence and mind are material, the loving affairs of Sri Radha and Krishna are beyond their perception. Sarvapariva nirmuktam tapratvena nirmalam. When we are free from all material designations and our senses are completely purified by the bhakti process, we can understand the sense activities of the absolute truth. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchate. The spiritual senses are beyond the material senses. A materialist can think only of the negation of material variety. He cannot understand spiritual variety. He thinks that spiritual variety simply contradicts material variety and is a negation or void, but such conceptions cannot even reach the precincts of spiritual realization. The wonderful activities of the gross body and subtle mind are always imperfect. They are below the degree of spiritual understanding and are ephemeral. The spiritual mellow is eternally wonderful and is described as Purna, Shuddha Nitya Mukta, that is complete, perfectly pure, and eternally liberated from all material conceptions. When we are unable to fulfill our material desires, there is certainly sorrow and confusion. This may be described as vivarta. But in spiritual life, there is no sorrow, inebriety, or imperfection. Srila Ramananda Roy was expert in realizing the spiritual activities of Srimati Radharani and Krishna. And Ramananda's spiritual experience was placed before Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as he inquired whether the Lord approved his realization of spiritual truth. There are 3 books prominent in this connection. One was written by Bhaktidas Baula and is called Vivarta Vilas. Another was compiled by Jagadananda Pandit and is called Prema Vivarta. Sri Ramananda Roy's book is called Prema Vilas Vivarta. The Vivarta Vilas by Bhaktidas Baula is completely different from the other 2 books. Sometimes a university student or professor tries to study these transcendental literatures and attempts to put forth a critical analysis from the mundane view, with an end to receiving degrees like a PhD. Such realization is certainly different from that of Ramananda Roy. If one actually wants to take a PhD degree from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and be approved by Ramananda Roy, he must first become free from all material designations. Sarvapati vinirmuktam tapratvena nirmalam. A person who identifies with his material body cannot understand these talks between Sri Ramananda Roy and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Man-made religious scriptures and transcendental philosophical talks are quite different. Indeed, there is a gulf of difference between the two. This subject matter has been very diligently described by Sriman Madhvacharya. Since material philosophies are situated in the material conception of life, they are unable to realize the spiritual prema vilas vivarta. They cannot accommodate an elephant upon a dish. Similarly, mundane speculators cannot capture the spiritual elephant within their limited conception. It is just like a frog's trying to measure the Atlantic Ocean by imagining it so many times larger than his well. Materialistic philosophers and sahajiyas cannot understand the talks between Ramananda Roy and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu concerning the pastimes of Sri Radha and Krishna. The only tendency of the impersonalists or the Prakriti Sahajiyas is to face the platform of impersonalism. They cannot understand spiritual variegatedness. Consequently, when Ramananda Roy attempted to sing his own verses, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stopped him by covering his mouth with his hand. Text 194. Alas, before we met, there was an initial attachment between us, brought about by exchange of glances. In this way, attachment evolved. That attachment has gradually grown, and there is no limit to it. Now that attachment has become a natural sequence between ourselves. It is not that it is due to Krishna, the enjoyer, nor is it due to me, for I am the enjoyed. It is not like that. This attachment was made possible by mutual meeting. This mutual exchange of attraction is known as Manobhava or Cupid. Krishna's mind and my mind have merged together. Now, during this time of separation, it is very difficult to explain these loving affairs. My dear friend, though Krishna might have forgotten all these things, you can understand and bring this message to him. But during our first meeting, there was no messenger between us, nor did I request anyone to see him. Indeed, Cupid's 5 arrows were our via media. Now, during this separation, that attraction has increased to another ecstatic state. My dear friend, please act as a messenger on my behalf, because if one is in love with a beautiful person, this is the consequence. Purport. These verses were originally composed and sung by Ramananda Roy himself. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur suggests that during the time of conjugal enjoyment, the attachment might be compared to Cupid himself. However, during the period of separation, Cupid becomes a messenger of highly elevated love. This is called prema vilas vivarta. When there is separation, conjugal enjoyment itself acts like a messenger. And that messenger was addressed by Srimati Radharani as a friend. The essence of this transaction is that transcendental loving affairs are as relishable during separation as during conjugal enjoyment. When Srimati Radharani was fully absorbed in love of Krishna, she mistook a black tamal tree for Krishna and embraced it. Such a mistake is called prema vilas vivarta. My dear Lord, you live in the forest of Govardhan Hill, and like the king of elephants, you are expert in the art of conjugal love. O Master of the universe, your heart and Srimati Radharani's heart are just like shellac and are now melted in your spiritual perspiration. Therefore, you can no longer distinguish between you and Srimati Radharani. Now you have mixed your newly invoked affection, which is like vermilion, with your melted hearts. And for the benefit of the whole world, you have painted both your hearts red within this great palace of the universe. Purport: this verse quoted by Ramananda Roy is included in Srila Rupa Goswami's Ujjvala Nilamani. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu confirmed these verses recited by Sri Ramananda Roy, saying, "This is the limit of the goal of human life. Only by your mercy have I come to understand it conclusively." The goal of life cannot be achieved unless one practices the processes. The goal of life cannot be achieved unless one practices the process. Now, being merciful upon me, please explain that means by which this goal can be attained. Sri Ramananda Roy replied, "I do not know what I am saying, but you have made me speak what I have spoken. Be it good or bad, I am simply repeating the message. Within these three worlds, who is so undisturbed that he can remain steady as you manipulate your different energies? Actually, you are speaking through my mouth, and at the same time you are listening. This is very mysterious. Anyway, kindly hear the explanation of the process by which the goal can be attained." Purport: Srila Sanatana Goswami has advised us to hear about Krishna from a Vaishnava. He has explicitly forbidden us to hear from an Avaishnava. A Vaishnava mukon girnam putam harikatamritam Shravana naiva kartavyam sarpochishtam yatapaya. Thus, quoting from Padma Purana, Srila Sanatana Goswami warns that one should not hear anything about Krishna from a Vaishnava. However great a mundane scholar he may be, milk touched by the lips of a serpent has poisonous effects. Similarly, talks about Krishna given by an Avaishnava are also poisonous. However, because a Vaishnava is surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his talks are spiritually potent. In the Bhagavad Gita 10.10, the Supreme Lord says, "Tesham satati yuktanam, bhajatam pritipurvakam, tadami buddhi yogam tam, yena mam upayanti te." To those who are constantly devoted to worshipping me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. When a pure Vaishnava speaks, he speaks perfectly. How is this? His speech is managed by Krishna himself from within the heart. Srila Ramananda Roy accepts this benediction from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, he admits that whatever he was speaking was not derived from his own intelligence. Rather, everything was coming from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. According to the Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Sarvasya chaham hridisa nivishto matak smitir jnanam apohanam cha vedaista sarver aham eva vedyo vedanta krid veda vedeva chaham. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of the Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. All intelligence emanates from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supersoul within the heart of everyone. Non-devotees want to ask the Supreme Lord for sense gratification. Therefore, non-devotees come under the influence of Maya, the illusory energy. A devotee, however, is directed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead and comes under the influence of Yoga Maya. Consequently, there is a gulf of difference between statements made by a devotee and those made by a non-devotee. The pastimes of Radha and Krishna are very confidential. They cannot be understood through the mellows of servitude, fraternity, or parental affection. Actually, only the gopis have the right to appreciate these transcendental pastimes, and only from them can these pastimes be expanded. Without the gopis, these pastimes between Radha and Krishna cannot be nourished. Only by their cooperation are such pastimes broadcast. It is their business to taste the mellows. Without the help of the gopis, one cannot enter into these pastimes. Only one who worships the Lord in the ecstasy of the gopis, following in their footsteps, can engage in the service of Sri Sri Radha Krishna in the bushes of Vrindavan. Only then can one understand the conjugal love between Radha and Krishna. There is no other procedure for understanding. Purport. The means for returning home for going back to Godhead is devotional service, but everyone has a different taste in the Lord's service. One may be inclined to serve the Lord in servitude, dasya ras, fraternity, sakya ras, or parental love, vatsalya ras. But none of these can enable one to enter into the service of the Lord in conjugal love. To attain such service, one has to follow in the footsteps of the gopis in ecstasy, the ecstasy of Sakhi Bhava. Then one can understand the transcendental mellow of conjugal love. In the Ujjvala Nilamani, Srila Rupa Goswami advises, Prema Lila Viharanam Samyak Vistarika Sakhi Vishramba Ratnapeti Cha. One who expands the conjugal love of Krishna and his enjoyment among the gopis is called a Sakhi. Such a person is a confidential gopi in the confidential affairs. Such assistants are like jewels in the form of Krishna's confidence. The actual business of the Sakhis is described thus in the Ujjvala Nilamani. In the conjugal pastimes of Krishna, Krishna is the hero, Nayaka, and Radhika is the heroine, Nayika. The first business of the gopis is to chant the glories of both the hero and the heroine. Their second business is to gradually create a situation in which the hero may be attracted to the heroine and vice versa. Their third business is to induce both of them to approach each other. Their fourth business is to surrender unto Krishna. The fifth is to create a jovial atmosphere. The sixth is to give them assurance to enjoy their pastimes. The seventh is to dress and decorate both hero and heroine. The eighth is to show expertise in expressing their desires. The ninth is to conceal the faults of the heroine. The 10th, to cheat their respective husbands and relatives. The 11th, to educate. The 12th, to enable both the hero and the heroine to meet at the proper time. The 13th, to fan the hero and the heroine. The 14th, to sometimes reproach the hero and the heroine. The 15th, to set conversations in motion. And the 16th, to protect the heroine by various means. Some materialistic sahajas who cannot actually understand the pastimes of Radha and Krishna manufacture their own lifestyles without referring to authority. Such sahajas are called Sakhi Beki, and sometimes they are called Gaura Nagari. They believe that the material body, which is fit to be eaten by jackals and dogs, is enjoyable for Krishna. Consequently, they artificially decorate the material body to attract Krishna, thinking themselves Sakhis. But Krishna is never attracted by the artificial grooming of the material body. As far as Srimati Radharani and her gopis are concerned, their bodies, homes, dresses, ornaments, endeavors, and activities are all spiritual. All of these are meant to satisfy the spiritual senses of Krishna. Indeed, they are so pleasing and endearing to Krishna that he is subjugated by the influence of Srimati Radharani and her friends. They have nothing to do with anything mundane within the 14 planetary systems of the universe. Although Krishna is attractive to everyone, he is nonetheless attracted by the gopis and Srimati Radharani. One should not be misled by mental concoctions supporting his material body one should not be misled by mental concoctions supposing his material body to be perfect and deeming oneself a Sakhi. This is something like Ahangaropasana, that is a Mayavadi's worship of his own body as the supreme. Srila Jiva Goswami has cautioned mundaners to abstain from such conceptions. He also warns that thinking oneself one of the associates of the Supreme without following in the footsteps of the gopis is as offensive as thinking oneself the Supreme. Such thinking is an aparadha. One has to practice living in Vrindavan by hearing about the talks of the gopis with Krishna. However, one should not consider himself a gopi, for this is offensive. Text number 206. The pastimes of Sri Krishna and Krishna are self-effulgent. They are happiness personified, unlimited, and all-powerful. Even so, the spiritual humors of such pastimes are never complete without the gopis, the Lord's personal friends. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is never complete without his spiritual potencies. Therefore, unless one takes shelter of the gopis, one cannot enter into the company of Radha and Krishna. Who can be interested in their spiritual pastimes without taking their shelter? This is a quotation from the Govinda Lilamrita. From where? Govinda Lilamrita. Correct. There is an inexplicable fact about the natural inclinations of the gopis. The gopis never want to enjoy themselves with Krishna personally. The happiness of the gopis increases 10 million times when they serve to engage Sri Radha and Krishna in their transcendental pastimes. By nature, Srimati Radharani is just like a creeper of love of Godhead. And the gopis are the twigs, flowers, and leaves of that creeper. When the nectar of Krishna's pastimes is sprinkled on that creeper, the happiness derived by the twigs, flowers, and leaves is 10 million times greater than that derived by the creeper itself. Purport. In his Amrita Pravaha Bhasha, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur states, Srimati Radharani is the creeper of love of Godhead, and the gopis are exactly like twigs, flowers, and leaves. When water is sprinkled on the creeper, the twigs, flowers, and leaves indirectly receive all the benefits of the creeper itself. But water sprinkled directly on the twigs, leaves, and flowers is not as effective as water sprinkled on the creeper's root. The gopis are not as pleased when they directly mix with Krishna as when they serve to unite Srimati Radharani with Krishna. Their transcendental pleasure lies in uniting them. All the gopis, the personal friends of Srimati Radharani, are equal to her. Krishna is pleasing to the inhabitants of Rajabhumi, just as the moon is pleasing to the lotus flower. His pleasure-giving potency is known as Ahladini, of which the active principle is Srimati Radharani. She is compared to a creeper with newly grown flowers and leaves. When the nectar of Krishna's pastimes is sprinkled on Srimati Radharani, all her friends, the gopis, immediately appreciate the pleasure 100 times more than if they were sprinkled themselves. Actually, this is not at all wonderful. That's from the Govinda Lilamrita. Although the gopis, Srimati Radharani's friends, do not desire to enjoy themselves directly with Krishna, Srimati Radharani makes great endeavor to induce Krishna to enjoy himself with the gopis. Presenting various pleas for the gopis, Srimati Radharani sometimes sends the gopis to Krishna just to enable them to associate with him directly. At such times, she enjoys a happiness 10 million times greater than that enjoyed through direct association. The transcendental mellow is nourished by that mutual behavior in transcendental love of Godhead. When Lord Krishna sees how the gopis have developed pure love for him, he becomes very satisfied. Srimati Radharani and the gopis are not interested in their personal happiness derived from association with Krishna. Rather, they become happy by seeing one another associate with Krishna. In this way, their dealings are further nourished by love of Godhead, and seeing this, Krishna is very pleased. It is to be noted that the natural characteristic of the gopis is to love the Supreme Lord. Their lusty desire is not to be compared to material lust. Nonetheless, because their desire sometimes appears to resemble material lust, their transcendental love for Krishna is sometimes described as lust. Purport. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that the material lust should never be attributed to Krishna, who is full of transcendental knowledge. Material lust cannot be engaged in the service of the Lord, for it is applicable to materialists, not to Krishna. Only prema, or love of Godhead, is applicable for the satisfaction of Krishna. Prema is full service rendered unto the Lord. The lusty affairs of the gopis actually constitute the topmost love of Godhead, because the gopis never act for their own personal satisfaction. They are simply pleased by engaging other gopis in the service of the Lord. The gopis derive more transcendental pleasure from indirectly engaging other gopis in the service of Krishna than from engaging in his service themselves. That is the difference between material lust and love of Godhead. Lust applies in the material world, and love of Godhead applies only to Krishna. And that brings us to our Gayatri break. It's now about 8 minutes to 12. We'll come back here at 10 minutes after. We'll see you back. Hare Krishna. Panchakalpadrishcha kripasindevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namo. Can we get a count?